The old cottage stood hunched at the edge of the whisper wood, much like an arthritic finger pointing accusingly at the sky. Its windows, like empty sockets, stared out blindly, reflecting the moon like tarnished mirrors. For generations, its roof had been caked in moss, and its walls draped with gnarled ivy, making it appear as though the house itself were some ancient, horrifying beast. The villagers called it the grim cottage, and they told anyone who listened to stay away from it. Away from the cottage, and especially away from the woman who lived there. Everyone called her the witch. Most folks considered her just an eccentric recluse. After all, she kept to herself, rarely venturing into the village. But when she did, people said her eyes, cold and gray, seemed to pierce right through them, seeing things about them that they tried desperately to keep hidden. There were rumors that she brewed strange concoctions in her cottage, rumors that on dark nights, when the wind howled through the trees, the sickly sweet smell of something cloying and metallic drifted from her chimneys. Some claimed they heard whispers on the wind that spoke of gurgling voices and inhuman moans carried on the night air from the grim cottage. Then there were the animals, always animals, an endless stream of them, cats, dogs, birds, even livestock disappearing without a trace, only to be seen again, gaunt, mangy, and skittering about like insects. There was more, so much more that people knew but couldn't prove, couldn't bring themselves to say out loud. It was all unspeakable, unimaginable. And yet, despite the terror that gripped them, despite the warnings their parents and grandparents had given them, over the years, a few hardy souls had dared to venture to the grim cottage, drawn perhaps by morbid curiosity or a thirst for a story. None ever returned. Until now, until Elias Clover found himself walking down the forest path leading to the cottage. Elias wasn't like the others. He didn't go to the cottage out of mere curiosity or a desire to prove his bravery. No, Elias went because he needed help. His little sister Lily had been taken ill with a wasting sickness, and the village healer had shaken his head. His face creased with concern, unable to offer any remedy. Desperate, Elias's mother had sent him to the witch, warning him not to come back without a cure. As he walked, the forest grew darker, the trees crowding close, their branches gnarled fingers pressing against the sky, muting the sunlight that struggled to penetrate the dense canopy above. As the light faded, the woods grew silent, and Elias felt a growing dread coil in his stomach. When he finally emerged from the trees, the grim cottage loomed before him, an ugly silhouette against the dying light. Its windows, like vacant eyes, seemed to watch him approach. Taking a deep breath, he knocked. The knock echoed in the stillness, and for a moment there was only silence. Then, just as Elias was about to turn back, the door creaked open. A voice, raspy and ancient as the woods themselves, asked, "Who's there?" Elias hesitated, fear warring with desperation. He had to do this for Lily. Steeling himself, he said, "I'm here to see the witch." The door opened wider, revealing a dark opening that seemed to swallow the little light that remained. "She's expecting you," the voice rasped, and with a final glance back at the darkening woods, Elias stepped inside. The cottage was a jumble of mismatched furniture, dusty trunks, stacks of books, and odd instruments, many of which Elias didn't recognize. Dried herbs hung from the rafters, filling the air with a sweet, earthy smell. In the corner, a cauldron bubbled over a low fire, steam curling from its depths like ghostly fingers. At the far end of the room sat a woman stirring the contents of a mortar and pestle. She was old, her face a roadmap of wrinkles, her eyes like chips of gray flint. She looked up, and Elias saw that her gaze was sharp, piercing, as though she were looking not just at him, but through him, seeing everything. "You're the brother of Lily Clover," she stated, not a question. Elias nodded, suddenly self-conscious. I came to ask for your help, to save Lily." The woman grunted, turning back to her pestle. So the others have told me. Her voice was like rustling leaves, dry and crackling. What do you want from me? A cure for Lily's sickness, Elias said, holding the woman's gaze. You can have anything. Just help her. The witch snorted. And what makes you think I can help you? Because, Elias said, his voice hardening, you're the only one who might. He saw surprise flicker across the witch's face, then vanish. She rose slowly, her joints creaking like the cottage itself. Very well, she said, her voice barely a whisper. But be warned, boy, there are things you may not want to hear, things that could haunt you for the rest of your life. I won't be deterred, Elias said, meeting her gaze unflinchingly. Just help my sister. The witch led him through a twisting labyrinth of corridors, each turn seeming to lead them deeper into the bowels of the earth. Finally, they came to a stop before a door made of a thick slab of wood. It was adorned with strange symbols that seemed to writhe and twist in the flickering lamplight. The witch placed a hand on the symbols, and the door groaned open, revealing a staircase that spiraled into darkness. Go on, the witch rasped, her voice echoing strangely. Take the third step from the top. Biting back his fear, Elias stepped onto the third step. Instantly, the world around him exploded into a maelstrom of color and sound. He felt himself falling, tumbling through a kaleidoscope of sensations, his mind reeling as memories, not his own, flooded his consciousness. When he finally stopped, he found himself in a place both familiar and alien. The village lay sprawled before him, but it was different somehow, corrupted. The houses were twisted parodies of themselves, the trees gnarled and skeletal. In the center of the village square stood a massive oak, its branches clawing at the sky. Beneath it, a crowd of villagers had gathered. They were laughing, their faces lit up in joyous smiles, but their eyes were filled with an unsettling emptiness. Their laughter died down, and Elias saw that they were staring at him, their smiles never wavering. Then from the crowd, a girl stepped forward. She was beautiful, her hair like spun gold, her eyes shining with mirth. But as she stepped closer, Elias saw that her skin was unnaturally pale, as though the life had been drained from her very being. Lily, he breathed, reaching out to her. The girl smiled, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Don't you recognize me, brother? She asked, her voice a hollow echo. After all these years, a choked sob escaped Elias's lips. What have you done to her? The girl tilted her head, her smile fading. Done? I am she, or was, before he took me. She gestured to the man standing beneath the oak tree. He was tall and handsome, his face framed by unruly black hair. He wore a leather jerkin over his tunic, and a cruel smile played on his lips as he watched Elias. Memories, not his own, flooded Elias's mind. He saw the man who had become his brother-in-law, luring his sister away with false promises, taking her to this place, draining her of her life essence, trapping her here forever. The girl reached out, her touch icy cold. Help me, brother, she whispered, her voice breaking. Save me. With a strangled cry, Elias lunged for her, but she slipped through his grasp like a wisp of smoke. He turned back to the crowd. Let her go, he shouted, his voice echoing through the village. Let her go, and I'll make you pay for what you've done. The villagers, their faces now twisted into sneering masks, surged forward, their eyes burning with a malevolent light. The man in the crowd stepped forward, his smile widening. You shouldn't have come here, boy, he said, his voice dripping with malice. Now there's no going back. The ground trembled beneath Elias's feet as the villagers closed in, their forms blurring into a sea of teeth and claws. Fear, raw and primal, surged through him. He stumbled back, his gaze frantically searching for an escape. He remembered the witch's warning, the third step. With a desperate surge of adrenaline, he scrambled up the stairs, ignoring the scratches and bites tearing into his flesh. Reaching the top, He hesitated, torn between his desire to save Lily and the terrifying vision of the future the witch had shown him. The choice, he knew, would shape his destiny. Wounds burning and heart pounding, he made his choice. What happens next will shock you. If you choose to click this video on the screen now, you will find out how his encounter with the witch changed him forever.